Hello, beautiful people. I'm Chris Maddox, founder of the Wild Woman Project and Wild Woman Fest. And I'm speaking to you today because we always meet like this for years and years and years at new moon time. And the new moon is upon us. It arrives on Monday, July 20th. That's the beginning of a cycle which will carry us all the way through August 17th. So, this new moon, like all new moons, is an opportunity that nature gives to restart, to begin again. Just like we get a chance every day when the sun rises, it's a new day. So, in this way, it's like a larger chapter. Moon cycle is about 29 and a half days. And, if you're living a conscious life, like if you're really paying attention to what's unfurling inside of you and outside of you, 29 and a half days, so much life can happen. It can be extraordinarily rich. So to pause on this new moon on July 20th and just honor this, threshold into a new moon cycle, a new cycle of life where we get to night by night, stand outside under the stars and watch the moon show up a little bit more each and every night, slither by slither by slither by slither until we get right to the middle of the moon cycle, and it's beaming and bright for one night, and then it wanes and it wanes and it wanes and it wanes and it wanes. And in so many ways that process mirrors the ebb and flow that we are always carried through, on tiny micro scales, and then larger, longer spans of time that embody that building of light and that waning, that inhalation and the exhalation, the ebb and the flow and the ebb, that we see over and over again in the natural world. That the moon is there to help us remember that we experience those cycles too. And we experience them inside, even inside of our own hearts. So we are in the summer. We're in those of us in the Northern Hemisphere. Either way, we're over halfway through the year 2020, which is a year of transformation. It's a year of so much that has been kind of like buried under the surface, or in some ways not being paid enough attention to, has really sort of come up. So much has happened, and um, we human beings have begun a decade that is extraordinarily high in stakes. Each and every one of our actions, the choices we make, where we choose to place our energy, how we choose to speak to one another, where we choose to put our resources, all of these things, our actions for the next decade will have an outsized impact, meaning it will mean more, because of the high stakes situation specifically going on with the climate. The scientists have told us this is our decade to make dramatic changes. And so I think, those of us who are really, tuned in, whether you want to think of that like spiritually tapped in, or simply trying to navigate from a deeper place, in our consciousness. So we're not just kind of going through the motions of our life, just not paying much attention. Those of us who, are really sincere in the way that we're living, and we really care about this world and all of the beings in this place. And we really care about what kind of a world, what kind of um, conditions we are creating for the children who are alive right now. Our actions are going to affect their lives in dramatic ways. And so I think that there's a way for us to sit with that responsibility from a place of like love and like loving leadership, to realize if you're an adult right now, you have the power. This is your time. You're alive, you're an adult right now. You have the power through your actions and who you're being, to steer the transformation that's happening in a way that is healthy, in a way that is fortifying to what's important here. And, here at the Wild Woman Project, we talk a lot about the heart. Talk a lot about the heart. In our circles, we always start by centering in the heart. We close with a heart meditation. So we often talk about how, just as the anatomical heart is the muscular organ really sitting at the center of the circulatory system, really just like keeping us alive. It's so essential that the spiritual heart sits at the center of our inner guidance system. And our inner guidance system is this amazing and extraordinary resource that we all have access to. And the biggest function, the most essential function of that heart, of that center of the inner guidance system, is the occurrence of love, the practice of love, however you want to think about it, the flow, the movement, the cultivation of love internally and in our relationships to everything that is. So this theme for our moon cycle ahead, July 20th through August 17th, our theme is the rise of love. And really the invitation here for everyone in our community is to really sit with how we can, cultivate love inside of us, and how we can bring love into every single interaction we have. Because if we look at to if you look pretty much like all of the dysfunction in our society, whether you look at the occurrence of the denigration of the natural world, which is essentially happening because of the unbridled capitalism, just constantly using the earth and not relating to the earth in a way of what it actually is, which is like everything is alive. We treat like a tree or a flower, a lot of times, a river, an ocean, like something that's dead, like something that's an object, when actually it's full of life. So whether you look at that, whether you look at white supremacy, the belief that any person, because of the color of their skin, is above or below any other person, and the fact that we have all these systems built around that ideology, whether you look at patriarchy and looking at, some gender is higher than other genders, or, pretty much like every single thing. If you look at the political division that's happening, not just here in the United States, but really all over the world. If you look at any of those places, what do we see over and over again? But like a lack of love in the relationship between all of the beings, in the dynamic. And in some cases, between those who wish to dominate or be above others, whether it's other people or above the natural world. I mean, if we look at the history of the world, many billions of years old, the earth will be here even when humans are not. So if we are to survive as a species, if we are to utilize the incredible resources that we have actually that can completely heal the world, whether you're looking at amazing technology for coral restoration underneath the ocean, because it's a place to look. The corals are dying, and there is really amazing technology that can bring the corals back to life, because there's a huge fallout. Just like if anything in nature starts to die, there are repercussions way beyond. It's like a domino effect. So if you look at the people doing incredible work on really trying to dismantle white supremacy and within our systems, if you look at the extraordinary work of artists and poets and ordinary people making a big difference in their local communities, people are coming from a place of being in a loving way. Being in a loving way. They say, this forest is important. It supports all the life, the insects, the animals, creates oxygen for us to breathe, So that's the invitation here at the Wild Woman Project. And, when I was looking at this theme and looking towards it, I came across this beautiful quote. It's actually a poem by the great June Jordan, who was an incredible Jamaican American poet, activist, playwright. She was bisexual in an era where that was misunderstood. So her perspective, especially in these matters, I think is incredibly valuable. So I'd love to read this poem to you. She writes, or maybe the purpose of being here, wherever we are, is to increase the durability and the occasions of love among and between peoples. Love as the concentration of tender caring and tender excitement, or love as the reasons for joy. I believe that love is the single true prosperity of any moment, and that whatever and whoever impedes, diminishes, ridicules, opposes the development of a loving spirit is wrong. She put that in quotes, /hateful. So I love this. There's so much here. This is like one of these poems that you could just chew on every little phrase. But this thing of bringing attention to increase the durability and the occasions of love among and between peoples. So really asking ourselves that question this moon, this new moon and for the cycle ahead, how can I create durability in my love? And how can I create more occasions of it between myself and the people that I know? And the way she describes love, I just love this definition as the concentration of tender caring and tender excitement, or love as the reasons for joy. So, this idea of being tender. I've been thinking a lot, about there are dark forces in our human family who do not have a loving relationship to the earth or to the people on the earth, and who want to dominate, and um, who have a lust for power, no matter what it costs, no matter what the costs are. And we will never, because of their material resources, we will never really be able to outfight them. You can see that. I really noticed that when I was watching the footage of the Black Lives Matter uprising, and I was seeing how well outfitted the police officers are, and really it was such a stark contrast with, our nurses and doctors dealing with a pandemic did not, where they were literally wearing trash bags. But boy, had the United States invested in making our police officers look like cartoon villains, like literally the budget must have, it is incredibly large. So we are, those of us who stand for love are not going to be able to outfight them. So what else do we have? And I think part of what's happening, I think we're living through one of these epic times that we have seen in so many of the myths that we have loved and treasured in our culture, these myths of forces of dark and light, having that final battle, or having many battles and having the final face off. I think that might be what we're going through. So, what does it mean? How can we? What enormous power do we have access to? And I truly believe, and I know I'm not alone in this, that love, that's it. That's what we have. But we haven't fully learned how to utilize our love and how to really wield our love. And I think that's really what I want to bring to the table, that I will love for us to sit with this moon cycle and for the moon cycles and years to come, which is, how can we cultivate love, which is the most powerful force on earth, which is literally the only thing that I think can actually dismantle some of the forces of hatred and division. But we have to get a lot more skillful in it. So here's June Jordan basically just saying, this is what love feels like. It feels like a concentration of tender caring. So what does that look like for us in our lives, day to day, in our personal lives? What does that look like in our public lives? We can look at our systems, we can look at our workplaces, we can look at literally every area of life and really go like, does this place have tenderness and caring in it toward all the people here and all of the, living beings? And if the answer to that is no, we have to say, well, then how do we fix this? How to reorient this so that there's a tenderness in our relationship, that there's a tenderness in our systems, because that tenderness is actually going to keep us alive. Because that tenderness is respectful of life itself. War is disrespectful of life itself. And we participate in war. So how can we participate in a more tender, caring way of being with all of life? And then this last line that she says is just so profound. I believe that love is the single true prosperity of any moment. So, in any moment, it's not what you have or how much money is in your bank account or how many freaking people follow you on Instagram. The prosperity of any moment is what love is being experienced where you're standing. She says, and whatever and whoever impedes, diminishes, ridicules, opposes the development of a loving spirit is wrong slash hateful. So she's equating hateful with the only way of being wrong. So the only way to be wrong is if you're being hateful. And the only way to be right is if you're being love, what she describes as that tender caring. So may you carry this poem with you and this contemplation that there's no more important thing than to love and to be tender in every single moment. There is no more important thing. And to really sit with that and notice where you, because we all do it, where we go to be hard, where we close ourselves off from that tenderness, where we impede the unfurling of love in any moment, and to catch ourselves when we go to that place, to catch ourselves and to remember this, that in any moment there is no more important thing than to be loving. So if you'd like to explore this idea deeper at new moon time in community, we have Wild Woman Project circles happening all over the world. Most of them at this time are happening online, and you'll find below this video a link both to all the telecircles happening and then to a complete list of full, or our full list of public circles by location. So that's 2 different links. I'll post them below this video. And towards the end of this Rise of Love moon cycle, we're going to have our monthly community ritual called Wild Woman School. And our theme is tending the heart. So we're really going to be thinking of how we can live in a loving way. And part of that has to do with developing the skill of tending to the spiritual heart, the center of our inner guidance system, which loves and guides us, and it also grieves and our heart breaks, So the tending of the heart is, there's a lot to it, and it's important, ongoing and forever practice that we'll explore together. So that'll be on Thursday, August 13th. And, nobody's turned away due to lack of funds. We have scholarships available. For everyone else, it's choose your own price, and it's online from anywhere. So if that calls to you, I hope you'll join us. So I'm wishing you a tender new moon time. And may we together from our little points on earth really cultivate the rise of love in ourselves, in our homes, in our communities, and on our planet. Thank you for listening.